Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jennifer Urezzio, and there's been so many times in my life where I could actually point to and say, here's the proof that the divine, God, that's what I call my higher power, knows who I am. And I feel it's so important for others to share and hear those stories. And this show provides a forum for those narratives. So it's so important for you to know your conscious connection with divinity. Today I'm with Carrie Castle, and we're talking about the divine. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, Jennifer. Pleasure to have. And also, this topic is so dear to my heart. So I'm really honored that you're actually having me with you in the first place.
Thank you. So, what is the memory that pops in your head where you were like, hey, God knows who I am? Like, does one pop right in your head?
I recall a time I was making a decision, and it seems a couple of times I can refer to that there was just this brush across the cheek. One particular time was a warm breeze that just felt so different to the temperature that was happening. And the other was a dragonfly. So there's twice in that same sort of cheek, same stroke. And to me, it was an echo of, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Again, it was about decision making in that particular case.
Love that. I used to have a mentor that would tell me that, and I passed it on ever since, that when the divine wants to speak to you, he sends the bucks, right? He, as in, my growing up Catholic, but I remember being in my old apartment and in my office there, and there were hundreds and hundreds of ants around me. And I was like, oh. And I had just talked to the ants, and I was like, okay, what do you want to tell me? And they're like, stop trying to fight for your community, just open up and receive them. And I was like, okay, thank you, Mr. Ant. And I looked down and they were all gone, right? Like, those are moments where we get to go, whoa, yes, this is kind of supernatural. And yes, this is real. So I love that you give those two examples. How are you currently building that relationship with whatever you call your higher power?
I'm building up awareness, because without the awareness,
there's nothing.
Miracle happens every moment. And how I develop awareness is probably tenfold, technically speaking, but it'll be things such as just noticing my thoughts, going to my breath. When I breathe a particular way, I am channeling more into the body's abilities versus this fight-flight response that can happen otherwise. And so noticing my thoughts can be little tiny exercises like when I'm touching a door handle, faucet handle, drawers, whatever the case might be. How are you handling your thoughts is what I ask myself. That's first part. And then generally speaking, if I'm walking in nature, I make it very conscientious effort to be aware of my thoughts and my breath. And to me, it's uniting mind, body, spirit at the same time.
Yeah.
And in that awareness, I hear messages. I see messages, especially with nature.
I love that. And I think so often what is key here is that we're not just talking about connection. We're talking about connection that builds consciousness, right? We're talking about connection that reminds us, and then we take our opportunity to act from that place of wholeness and completeness. Right? So being connected isn't really about faith. It's about practice. And you're right, it's about awareness and choice. And I think so often there's like this tug of war between understanding like, okay, the phrase God loves you and really being conscious about that for yourself and then for others. So I love what you're saying. Is there a time where you felt as though you couldn't hear what the divine universe, tree, Bob, God, cupcake, whatever you want to call that, was saying to you?
Yes. The first clues for me will be, be it in prayer or meditative trying to dial in a line. I remember a time I felt like I was praying, but it was hitting the ceiling and falling down. Like literally, that's my best way of describing it. And that lost feeling of, I'm asking, why are you not hearing? But as of late, I've learned, even in the recent recent moment feeling that the gap is shortening, we'll say, you know, it still occurs, but the gap is shortening, is, oh, there was a little flutter in my ear, like there would be a little thing, or some people experience an eye twitch. And if you're paying attention to the body, I happen to be a dietitian, so I'm all about paying attention to the body, but not necessarily feeling. So if you're paying attention to the body speaking to you, it could very well be saying, hey, you're in your head too much. You need to be in your feelings. What is your body speaking? And when I recognize I'm out of alignment by saying it sort of just drops. It doesn't really land through me. That's because I'm in my mind too much. And so I go back to my thoughts, my breath, and so on, because as you mentioned, conscious, being aware, and something's breathing us right now. Oh, thank goodness. But you can consciously change it, but you cannot not breathe. You know, so like there's just this awareness of something's breathing me, so it's never not here. My consciousness needs to slip into the right spot and into my body for that.
Yeah, and I love that you're talking about as a practice, right? It's a choice. You know, it's always there. It's choosing whether you're participating in it or not. And then when you're not coming back to that participation in any way that resonates with you and works with you, mind, body, and spirit. So you mentioned a little bit about what you do. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And then, of course, give out a website address for us?
Oh, yeah, sure. As I mentioned, I'm a dietitian. I've been for 30 years or more. I keep on saying 30 years, and it's probably, I've lost track. But as of late, I'm a published author. I am a bestseller of a book called The Domino Diet. Again, it's starting with your thoughts, how it leads to how you breathe, and then your hormones and so forth. There's a domino effect. And that is also encompassing, as a life coach, certified life coach, I'm bringing those tools together. And alternative medicine as well as traditional medicine. So it's an ability to customize your own health. And where you find me nowadays, well, there's generally, if you just Google the Domino Diet, you will find me, be it a website, be it and I actually welcome texts and emails and so forth. So you'll find me that way.
Love that. So what has, being on this kind of connected path, how has that influenced your work for yourself and then your work with others?
It actually, I think, started with me realizing hitting perimenopause into menopause, and the white picket fence sort of way of doing things that I was beforehand wasn't really working very well. And I guess we learn by practicality. I play piano by playing it, not by just listening to it, correct? And by having my own disrupt in my body experience. And as I even just mentioned with the divine, I know when I'm in alignment or out of alignment. So having those experiences, to be out of alignment, even as a dietitian for the body, taught me to seek better tools than what I had in my curriculum. Mind, body, spirit being all encompassing, not in silos. We treat very much in silos. You have a problem with your body, go to the doctor and a GP. You have a problem with the mind, another kind of doctor. Spirituality, you go to another kind of doctor, so to speak. But what about when you bring it all together? And so I feel like that's what these tools have done.
Love that.
Encompassing, yes.
Love it. And so you can find her anywhere by looking up the Domino Diet, which is very cool and easy peasy. And I love that you're so willing to actually have a conversation via text or, email her. So it's so amazing that, you're kind of walking the talk. As we wrap up, what is the one thing you want to impart people who are looking for a deeper connection with themselves, with their spirit, with their body, with their mind?
The one thing I just mentioned ties in mind, body, spirit, when you can tie them all together. And if you're conscious of your breathing, that is one way of doing that. You're bringing in spirit, because breath in the Greek language is spirite, so in spirit. And then as you're consciously breathing into the body, you can do things consciously, as I mentioned, in terms of switching the type of breathing. That's a mind, body, spirit moment. walking, being conscious of your breathing at that point, you're moving with your body, taking in gratitude with nature. It's mind, body, spirit, all encompassing. So finding moments of all encompassing, and we have them with food. We're eating and enjoying the meal, maybe even having gratitude with that meal. I think that's the beginning of dialing up a level of awareness, and also dialing up to, as a whole different topic, but an emotional scale. Shame and guilt are at the lowest, and love is at the middle, not even the highest, but at least pulling it into gratitude is bringing yourself up to love. Enlightenment is at the highest. So that even in that gratitude moment and what you're doing, mind, body, spirit, I think is one way of starting.
Yeah, beautiful. And listen, everyone, if you're in shame or fear, you're not going to get love from one jump. Like it's just insane to think you can jump all those levels of consciousness. It's not there, right? So amazing that, you know, notice where you are, and then just ask to start. The best place to start when you're in shame is neutrality. That opens up a lot of doors, and then you can move on to love. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I think we enjoyed it.
I'm so glad to be here, and always make sure you realize that sometimes there's a gift of wisdom in the shame, guilt that leads you up to love.
Totally, right? Everything's here, and everything is of the divine. So all you have to do is be willing to see it. So thank you so much. And everyone, if you're interested in having a deeper connection, you can log on to the site at soullineage.us/gifted purpose and find out more about your own connection. This is Jen Urezzio, founder and spiritual director of Soul Lineage, and we'll be back next week. So bye for now.